Here I'm teaching her how to step into the canter, because eventually when I get the collected flying changes, it's different than the other flying change I did earlier, which is a balance in the perpetual motion forward, tying her to her hind leg. Now I'm doing a little study, a little lesson for her to understand mentally that a flying change comes from a step behind. So we're not using a lot of, impulsion or RPMs forward to get this. This is rocking back and stepping into it. And pretty soon the step is going to go out of it. She almost did one there. And why I go right to left is because I'm setting her haunches up to want to balance into that canter direction. And I'm also using the spiral or the small circle for her to step into the walk step to the canter step, so I don't have to use my hands to have her walk. I'm using her physics to have her walk. There was lengthening because she was a good girl, and I wanted to make sure that after doing all that tiny step canter, walk, canter, walk, that she still understands we're going big forward. Lots of forward, psychologically speaking. Because if you do too much collected movement with a young horse and you don't praise them for going forward, and this is tough work for her, because it's a mental challenge, not just a physical challenge of being do this, do this, do this, do this. And then I praise her for doing something simple like go forward and however you like, and not bother her at all, and then come back and do a little bit more needlepoint work, which I call it needlepoint. That was a really nice change after doing what I term as needlepoint work, because she voluntarily did that. As you see, I move her head and neck out of the way so she can step into the walk without me strangling her on the face. When you bring a horse's head and neck up out of the way that's young and they don't have the top and bottom line to do the head carriage of the collection, you're giving them a way to drop their haunches and step deeper underneath them. And since everything comes from behind, it's really important that on a young horse, when you're doing difficult exercises like this, to remove their head and neck. That's why these riders and trainers that use all these gadgets on young horses have huge problems. They either have back issues and then ultimately hock issues, or they have, and then usually they have psychological issues. The horse starts getting sour or refusing. Now all that waving in the tail is because this is very difficult. I took the turning part out, and now I'm just asking her to step and canter, and to step and canter, right to left, right to left. And that's tough. Now, as you can see, lactic acid is building up in her muscles, and now she's going longer and longer and longer, but she's not going faster and shorter and quicker. And then I want to show her that yes, you can take from that long position and balance up and do a flying change. Another reason why I love a big field. So I'm asking her, but I'm not telling her to do a change here. Last week she just started, because this is like several weeks old. Last week she just started and doing changes long and low like that, when I just had to look off to the right and step down and step out in my stirrup in the half seat, and she did it all on her own volition. There was a good one. She just did a good one there, but she needed her head and neck a little, so she had to raise it out of the way. Last week she's in a down low position, and I'll put that on the next podcast, where she doesn't need her head and neck to do the skip. Part of that is physical, part of it's psychological. She's trusting her hind legs to skip. That's the weakest hind leg is the one that they least amount of want to skip off. So you want to get that strong. They're used to doing all their show-off stuff as a baby, usually off their left hind. Now I'm rising in the trot and trying to do nice big lengthenings across the field. And her face and neck in front, above the vertical, at all times. I always laugh because people think you have to be on the vertical and they end up being behind the vertical. But you can see here I'm exaggerating it because she's getting tired. And as I lift her whole face and neck out of the head way, look at where her shoulder is. And then she steps into the canter, but it's all coming from behind, and I'm not losing the whole shoulder. I've measured this mare's shoulder, and it's 2 feet long, from the wither start of the shoulder to the tip of the shoulder. 2 feet long. So it would be a tragedy for a horse like this to not use her shoulders. Down the road a piece, her passages are going to be international. Because when you wrap this kind of made horse that's so intelligent, likes to be consistent and pleased and work this hard and have a body that's like a rubber band, and you put the muscles on in the frame and the dexterity, boy, in a 2-foot shoulder, it's going to make one amazing passage. Because folks, the passage and piaffe starts from the back, the haunches in the back, so the shoulder can be used. And when you're gagging them, you look like you're doing passage and piaffe like pistons in a car, and it doesn't have the breath. And if you want to beat the Europeans, you better get your homework done right. They don't do piaffes from the knees. That was a nice flying change. She did that on her own volition, but she went from left to right. The big question is, can she skip from right to left with that same frame? And oh, I love how she ends herself here. She's all relaxed. We've been working nonstop. As you can see, this is not takes. This is one ride. This is usually I do a ride like this once a week, sometimes twice a week. But I'm putting a whole bunch of stuff together. We've been working in pieces, and